Hello there, my name is Brittany. Welcome back to my channel, and today you're going to be watching me read a book that I actually own.
It's Brittany, bitch.
As you probably know, I really don't read that many books that I actually own. I tend to read a lot of library books because it also gives me the incentive to read them because I have to return them on a deadline. But there's a couple books that have been staring at me from my bookshelf, and I just decided I need to do it. And this is the only book that I've actually bought myself all year. Like, actually bought at all is the only book. And that book is Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. And this book I bought, I believe in March, and I bought it from Costco, full price, actually bought it. And it always kind of like looked good. And I feel like it's like every freaking store, like every single store I go into, I see it. And it's like looking at me. And from my spot on the couch, it's looking at me. So I decided to actually give this a shot because I only have a couple of days until my next planned project. And I thought, this is only like 300 pages. Let me just dig into this. All that I know about Valentine is basically it takes place in Texas in like the 1970s, I think it's like 1976, and we're basically following a couple different perspectives, and one of them happens to be, and it starts with a 14-year-old girl who is sexually assaulted in like the middle of an oil field, and then the whole story unfolds from there and how this affects the town. This sounds kind of like a Texas version of Beartown, and it kind of deals with like the oil industry and farmers, and it's just really interesting. It's very Texas. It's Texas. And the author actually grew up in West Texas, so naturally that's why it probably is gonna feel very Texan. I don't really know more than that, but I know that it's kind of a historical fiction, obviously because it's set in the 1970s, and it's been described as like fiction / literary fiction. So I think this is really good and hard-hitting, and I have high expectations for it, but not like so high that it's not gonna be able to blow me out of the water. I think it's just gonna be a really good historical fiction, and I really love some good Texas vibes, especially in the summertime here. You know, I live in the desert. It is dry, it is dusty, and so I feel like what's on the cover, which looks like a haboob, which we do get, I feel like is very prevalent to my life at this moment. This also could be a bit of a sunset. Could be a haboob with some clouds. Ooh, dark stormy clouds. I don't know, but either way, I'm gonna get into this and then I'll let you know how it goes. All right, so now I have to go get my tire fixed. There's like a weird white thing that's stuck in my tire, and it like impaled my freaking tire like 2 days ago, but they were closed yesterday. So today I'm gonna go down and get my tire looked at. I know it's probably gonna have to be replaced or at least patched. And then in the interim, I'm gonna be reading this, and I'm only even like 15 pages in, so hopefully I can at least get to like page 40 is like my goal. 40 or 50, I'd like to get a little bit in here to actually know what's actually going on. And I really hope my tire is easily fixed, because I also don't have an appointment because they didn't have any appointments available, but he said it should for sure get done today if I get there when I planned on getting there. So the problem is though, is I can't really drive, like, to me, I don't want to drive the speed limit, even because I feel like it could make my tire worse. So I'm going to try and drive as slow as I can without being like annoying people on the road with my blinkers on, with my flashers on. Like, I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but that's on the docket for today.
So many things to prove. You were blind and refused to see.
Okay, I am actually really upset because I just left my house after work today. It is the next day, and number one, I really wanted a bagel, which sounds really stupid, okay? And I pulled up thinking maybe they were open, but no, they closed like 2.5 freaking hours ago, because I want this very specific churro bagel that is like a churro, but it's not very sweet at all. And for some reason, I haven't had it in like 4 months, and all of a sudden, like, I got a weird craving for it, and they're closed. And on top of that, yesterday when I went to the tire place, I waited there for an hour and a half for them to tell me that they didn't do anything to my car because they basically pulled out the plastic piece and it was fine. Wow, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset about that. I knew they were busy, but at the same time, like, if all you had to do was pull the plastic piece, like, I could have done that. But the reason why I didn't is because just in case something was wrong and my tire went flat, I didn't want it to happen like when I'm sitting in my parking lot with all of those cars around me in my apartment complex. Like, I would have rather have it happen where it goes flat in their parking lot and they could just roll me right into the garage and fix it. So I'm pretty upset about that as well. But I am 100 pages into Valentine, and so far I'm really enjoying it. We have a couple different perspectives. We have a couple different female perspectives. We have Gloria, who likes to go by Glory, and she's the one who was assaulted in the oil field. And then we have Mary Rose, and she is the woman who basically opens her door to Gloria the morning after, because Gloria goes to her for help, and then she opens her door, and that starts a whole thing. That basically starts a whole thing for Mary Rose, because her husband's even mad at her, because obviously they're in the press because she basically gave her statement to the police that she is on the girl's side, yada yada. And then we're also following Corinne, who's like this old cantankerous old woman who saw get kidnapped. And then we're also seeing Deborah Ann, who goes by DA, who is a like 10-year-old kid whose mother just left her, and she is friends with Corinne, the neighbor, and she's like a little neighborhood kid, and we see things through her eyes. And then we also have the perspective of her mother, Ginny, who left her to go like look for a better life. And then I think we're also going to get Suzanne, who I think is another neighbor. I'm not really sure how she's connected yet, but we have a whole bunch of different perspectives. I'm not really sure like what they're going to add up to yet, but I think they're kind of going to get more involved, because I think there's going to be court cases and stuff towards the end. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm not sure if it's going to happen yet. But I do know it talks about how like it's going to be tried in the churches and ballrooms of Odessa before it can reach a court of law. So I'm assuming there might be some like court cases towards the end, but we're gonna see. So far so good, but a really big warning about this book, other than obviously an assault, and it's kind of a big part of the book, you know, obviously it affects all of the characters, is the fact that there are no quotation marks in this book whatsoever. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my house and cry now, because I basically went out for nothing, because the bagel didn't happen. But we're having garlic chicken for dinner, and which is one of my favorite meals, and not to mention it's actually particularly very easy, because you do all the prep work beforehand, and then all I have to do is basically cook the chicken. And I'm down for a good dinner, especially on a nice rainy day, which makes me very happy. So I'll come to you with my next update, which is hopefully at 200 pages, because I'm going to try to do every 100 pages since I exactly am on page 100. I'll see you at the 200 mark.
Never stop to listen to me.
I just want to let you know that I finally got my bagel a day later, and I just picked it up. It was the last one that they had for the day. I'm really excited because I don't know why it is. I've really been craving this bagel. It's like not even like a sweet bagel. They're called like their party bagels. I don't know. Like it's like just different. It's not even like toasted. I don't even know. This is their churro bagel, and it's filled with like I don't even know, but it's not super sweet. But it's not cream cheese. I just scarfed that, and honestly, it was not that satisfying. And I'm like so upset now that like I spent my entire lunch going to get what I thought was a bagel, but I forgot that it's actually low-key. They're like donuts. It's like a donut with like sweet cream cheese. I looked it up. Oh! Hello. I looked it up. Okay. And it's actually like a sweet cream cheese, and it's basically a donut. And that's why it has a different flavor, but like honestly, I don't know if it was just like stale, or I think it was like pretty unimpressive the first time I had it too, but like for some reason I was craving it, and now I'm like sad. So I'm making spaghetti for dinner, so I put my onions and my garlic in a pan, and if nobody knew and or cares, but here I'm gonna tell you anyway, that's one of my favorite smells in the world, is onions in a pan with olive oil. And then I just blend up the tomatoes, and we're having some wine tonight, because you know what, it's been a shitty ass week. It has been a shitty ass week. So here's some red wine for y'all. It's actually pretty good, I'm not gonna lie, it's actually pretty good. And then here is the finished product. We have Brittany's spaghetti in the meatballs, and it was actually really freaking delicious. It was very, very good. And of course, we're rewatching Breaking Bad for like the bajillionth time, and we cannot stop ourselves. We cannot stop. I love this show. It is the next day, and I'm only like 100 and like maybe 80 pages into Valentine, but I'm gonna get my nails done because this one broke. And so I'm gonna get my nails done real quick, and I thought I might check out the fact that Valentine does indeed have an audiobook. So I brought my handy dandy headphones, and I'm gonna listen to a little bit of the audiobook while I'm getting my nails done, because it's gonna take at least an hour, and my nail guy barely talks to me, which is great. So I'll just be trying to listen to my audiobook, and then I have to go to the library and return a book, and then we're gonna get some delicious steak for dinner, because we've had a really long week, and this week has sucked. I'm not even gonna lie. It has been pretty awful, and I just got basically yelled at by a client, and it was so rude, and I kind of just want to cry right now, so I'm just gonna go get my nails done instead.
Send me a text in the middle of the night, giving me another piece of advice. Told me that meeting boys
Okay, so contrary to popular belief, I actually finished this book today. And I'm pretty surprised because I honestly didn't think I was going to finish it today. And I'm kind of worried because tomorrow I have to start a whole new challenge for myself. And I hate like having to start a challenge, it being in the middle of another book, and then have to like put that book off for a couple days or so. That wasn't gonna work for me. I actually ended up finishing this though. So what happened was I had to wait, I basically was in the car for like 2 hours. I got my nails done. That took like an hour and a half. And then I was in the car for like an extra hour and a half. And I went to the library and I went to go pick up dinner and I was in the car for a very long time. And so I ended up actually finishing the book basically in the car. Basically ended up finishing the whole book on audio. I read from like 58% all the way to like 88% on audio, and then I finished at the last bit. Right now, it's time for bed. I'm ready to go to sleep, but I had to finish this because I was not gonna wait till tomorrow morning, okay? And I'm pretty proud of myself that I actually finished it in the time frame that I gave myself, which does not always happen. No, it does not. And my new nails look lovely with the cover. I didn't plan that, but here we are. So let me give the lowdown on this book. I really don't know what I'm gonna rate it yet, but probably somewhere in the 3 range, and don't get me wrong. This book is very important. It brings up very large issues like racism, prejudice, gender issues, women's issues, rape culture, etc. It is a very poignant book. It really is of the time, and it is so important. Like the things that they're talked about in this book are so relevant and important, especially the women's issues, which was a very large portion of this book. However, my big issue is that there was way too many perspectives in this book that just really didn't add to the story, and they had kind of like pointless backstories. Like I guess they had their own stories that tied together the same kind of themes, but there was no like essential plot. If you love character-driven novels, I'm sure you're gonna love this one, but for me, I like a little more plot with my books, and this really started off really strong, and then in the middle, I definitely kind of struggled. Even at the end, the ending to me wasn't a very strong ending. There was one, I guess, like satisfying chapter, but it was from a perspective that we had not seen the entire book, and it was just one random chapter. I just feel like this could have been told better. Like, I like the idea for the story, I just did not like the execution of the multiple viewpoints. There was too many viewpoints in my opinion. And then the stylistic choice to not use quotation marks was pretty large. I feel like a lot of people would definitely not read this because of that, which is why I 100% recommend the audio. The audio was really good. I really love the narrator. She is really good, and I love her accents, especially for Mary Rose. She almost sounded like a softer Dolly Parton, and I really loved listening. But it's also because I liked Mary Rose's chapters, because Mary Rose was more relevant to the initial plot of the sexual assault and being like a witness. I feel like a lot of the other stories were like interesting, but they didn't like fit together. I just feel like it was so disjointed that I kind of struggled if I was on a chapter with someone I didn't really care about. Like, I just don't know, like, why do we need like Deborah Ann? Why do we need Ginny? Like, I just don't understand like why we needed some of these viewpoints. Like, this book was just too disjointed for me. Like, it has a great premise, but for me to give something 5 stars, it has to be pretty incredible or super enjoyable. And this book was just way too easy for me to put down because I just was so lost in this book and it was so disjointed. Like, you finally get into someone's chapter, and I feel like they're pretty long chapters, and then like you finally get into this character's head and you go to the next person and you're like, why? Overall, I think it was a great experience. I think, you know, actually it was pretty cold here the past couple days, but especially if you live in a dusty, deserty area, it's very atmospheric. It really gives you those vibes. And I really enjoyed the vibes. Like, it was very visceral, but there just wasn't a cohesive story that like pulled me in and makes, like, I don't really like think, oh, I need to recommend this to people. Oh, you have to read this, because there's no like for sure plot line. I feel like so many things don't get wrapped up, and it's frustrating because you like want to see them wrapped up all at the end. And it doesn't have, not everything has to be like in a bow, but like, can I at least have a bow? Just one. I just want one present. This was a fun experiment. I'm really proud of myself for actually reading a book that I own. I'm very proud of myself. I still would recommend it. I think it's great. I'm not sure exactly what my final rating is going to be. It's probably going to be like a 3.5 or something. I still think it was very valid and very important. I think it brings up a lot of issues. And I think a lot of people absolutely love it. It has a lot of 5-star reviews. I think it's because it is just hard hitting, but don't expect this book to be happy. I'm just going to let you know, it is not a happy book. It is definitely a hard-hitting historical fiction. Be warned, there's a lot of ignorance in here. It's definitely a little bit frustrating to read, especially some of the courtroom scenes were very frustrating. And again, the book felt a little disjointed, but you can decide that for yourself. All right, thanks so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any suggestions for books I should buy and read, please let me know down below. Okay, like, subscribe, join the tribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.